Good morning, traders. Manny Cabrera, co-founder of MDC Trading Academy, with our pre-market forecast for today, Wednesday, May the 29th. Let's go to our news items for the day. Nothing on the news docket for today, Wednesday. We begin with some important news effective on Friday, 9:45. We have Chicago PMI and then revised UOM. So those are really two important ones. And of course, we have some other ones during before market bell at about 8:30 on Friday. Personal spending, good and important piece of news, and also the prelim GDP. It's also an important one at 8:30 on Thursday. Excellent trading markets with good movement and great value, great follow through. Let's look at our daily chart for today, and what we have here is market at a very critical area. Remember, we had talked about this particular area after we broke through in early March. We have spoken about using this as resistance, and that's what we've been doing. We broke through clearly, reestablished all-time high, retraced to the area. We've reached various areas of support. We went through the 20, we went through the 50, we held on to the 80, and now we are bouncing off the 200 SMA. Now that's the critical spot right there, guys. That's the critical spot. Two things that are happening. We're reaching the 200 SMA, plus we may have a crossover of the 80-20. If we have a crossover of the 80-20, you can absolutely unequivocally expect more movement to the downside. First level obviously will be right around this area right here, which was our previous resistance and support. Remember that this was kind of moving in between these areas, and ultimately way down to our next area, which would be this last area which we have here. And then we can have more volume and more acceleration, we can expect all the way down here. Now what I did here is I put it all into perspective. Now remember, this is it will be a strong move to the downside, but we need to keep it into perspective. The perspective begins here. This is where we are bottomed out the last time that we were down here. This was back in 2015. We came down here again. This was in August of 2015. We came down here at the January 2016, and right back here in February of 2016, and that's where we began our leg to the upside, where we established the original all-time high. So if we do a retracement from all the way down there, you can see that if the market reaches these areas right around here, this is like a 23%, this is the 38%, this is the 50%, and even if we go below that low way back in December of last year, it's still a 50% retracement. We can still go down to a 61% retracement and still continue to expect the market to just come down here. Now, it's a substantial move. It would be an absolute substantial move, but remember, markets have this ebb and flow. Remember, ebb and flow. There's two things we need to understand. We have three types. We have three types of pullbacks. Okay, we have market corrections. We have profit taking, and we have crashes. Okay, those are the three that we have: corrections, profit taking, and crashes. Crashes happen. Let's look at the worst scenarios. Crashes happen with bad economic data or some sort of catastrophe in the U.S. economy, because most of the world's economies are kind of slumbering right now, especially China. Something were to happen in the American economy, coupled with a few incidents here and there abroad, we can expect a market crash. That's obvious. Weak dollar, and so forth, whatever the case may be. Market correction is usually about 10%, which is kind of like what we had here. This is about a 10% correction, and this is kind of sort of like the China syndrome. Let's call it sort of like China syndrome. Could this be China syndrome number 2, coming off the double top of all-time highs? Could it be China syndrome number 2? Potentially. We can see if it gets down to these areas, that's all it is. Market crash, we can definitely see a breakthrough 61% average, and then we're in trouble. Something is wrong in the American economy. Something is wrong in the world economy. Some catastrophe happened. That's what it's all about. So always keep that in mind. We have corrections, profit taking, and of course, and we also have market crashes. Let's look at what's happening recently here in our markets. That's our daily there. Let's look at I want to look at a larger time frame here, so you can get a context of where the market is and why it's doing what it's doing. What you see here is a huge market that's been oscillating. Once it hits the all-time high, it's coming off the all-time high. It pretty much took it back. Remember, this is where it launched. This is way back here. This is where it launched to the upside. This is where the market is taking it all back. Now, here's the critical area here. This represents the 80 SMA right around this area here. I had this marked here quite a bit ago. But here's the critical area. What's going to happen here? Now, you have a market, obviously, that's oscillating from top to bottom. Obviously, you had a trend line holding it up for a while. Then you had a major trend line holding the market to the downside. What's going to happen here? This is the critical area here. Remember the 80-20 SMA also plays a big role. So that's a very key area. Let's look at our projection chart here, and you can see we were in a very peculiar resistance and support area here. This pretty much is holding the market. This goes way back. This pink line and this blue line here goes way back, so way back that I can't even see it on the chart anymore. But it's pretty much the oscillation that I was talking about. It did go below it a little bit, and now today it actually really broke through clearly, obviously bouncing on the 200 SMA. Now remember, all of these areas here have been pre-forecast from the past. They have been brought forward from the past. All-time high up here. These are potential areas to the upside, potential areas to the downside. So we're in a very critical spot. Is it going to be a correction? Is it going to be profit taking? Is it going to be a market crash? That's what we have to keep our eyes on right now. Let's look at our analysis chart here. And as we can see, here again, market runs to the downside, breaks the intraday low established late yesterday, breaks cleanly through it after attempting to use it as support a few times, breaks through. We have two short term. We have two leading trend lines here. We have a macro one way up here. We have a micro one up here that seems to be holding the market, and we do have some support at this level here. So there's where we are. We have another descending triangle. Expectation if the market breaks there, we can accelerate a little bit to the downside. But remember, we're bouncing onto the 200 SMA. We can go a little bit behind it. What we want to do is detach ourselves. If we detach ourselves from the 200 SMA, you're going to see acceleration to the downside. It's going to be unbelievable how quickly this is going to happen. So let's look at our trade chart today. And again, you're going to see the same thing. The same thing. There you go. Market has a micro area. Here's our micro trend line to the downside. Here's our support. And we are definitely below the low of yesterday, which was right about here. This is our low from yesterday. So this is a day that we are expecting more down movement. But remember, we're bouncing off the 200 SMA, so it's going to be a really interesting thing. Is the market? This is the critical area right here. I'm just going to call it. This is the critical area right here. This is where a lot of the market environment is going to be testing. A lot of the key tests are going to happen here. Are we going to come test, bounce off, continue higher, and then continue higher across this trend line? Or is this trend line going to hold once again, come retest this area here and just keep doing this all day until it continues to break to the downside? Or are we eventually going to break higher and head to higher grounds, meaning as long as we remain to retest the intraday low. If we break the intraday low, then we can expect some more movement to the upside. So let's see what happens today. Very interesting day. Start looking low to the downside right now, and you need to have a lot of compelling data in order to be looking to the long side. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Ciao.